Well then, hello everybody. It is the morning after Legend of the Sea Devils and that trailer. So Miles and I have reconvened as usual to discuss the story and the trailer and just what we thought of them both, really. Yeah. So after that, how did you find it? In a sentence or just briefly?
The episode or the trailer?
The episode first, I think.
Yeah. Fine. Yeah. It hurts every time you say, you know, it was all right, but it was fine, you know.
Yeah.
It had the best way I can sort of overall describe it is it had penultimate episode syndrome, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
It was like something like Fear Her.
Yeah.
You're waiting around for the trailer, and I got halfway through, and I was like, so when are we going to see centenary, you know, stuff?
Yeah.
The feeling of, are we going to get a trailer? What's it going to reveal? Was kind of overriding the episode.
Yeah, totally.
So that was kind of what I feel. But what about you? What are your initial
similar?
Off the
really,
bats?
like I did get to a point where I was just like, you know, I see the trailer now. It was another case of basically what you see is what you get in terms of the promotional stuff. Like, there wasn't any big twist. But it was sort of weird because at the start, like near the start, they sort of suggested there could be a twist or something. Like they were sort of treating all these things like, the Lost Fleur de la Mar, this Keystone, whatever, all this weird stuff. It was sort of treated as a mystery, but all the answers to the questions they raised were sort of things that you would expect. Like the Fleur de la Mar was the Sea Devil ship, because of course it was. I think we even said that in our preview, and like
which makes no sense. That there's a lot of plot things we'll go into, but
sure,
anyway.
And I think just overall as well. I mean, two things. I mean, I hate to say it, but the Return of the Sea Devils just felt like a bit of a non-event in the end, didn't it? And also, like, while watching it, I was the cynical part of me was sort of thinking to myself, you know, Doctor Who doesn't often do pirate stories and doesn't often do Sea Devil stories. Maybe there's a reason why.
Certainly the former. Certainly pirate stories.
Yeah,
it's a real shame because I just don't think they work.
It was just it's a weird one, and there wasn't. I mean, I suppose as the episode went on, there was more like action on the ships and stuff, but I was expecting more of that, I think, and just the whole way it got going as well. Like, they didn't waste any time bringing the Sea Devils in.
Not at all, no.
Like, it was literally just like the TARDIS, like after the little opening scene, the TARDIS lands, then you get that shot from the trailer of one like coming into focus, and the Doctor's like, Sea Devil. And there wasn't any build up to that, which is a bit of a shame.
It was kind of, you felt like, oh, they know this is a big moment, they're stressing this as a big thing, but it kind of happened, and maybe it's because we've known for ages. Maybe that's what takes away some of it.
That definitely comes into it as well.
But you're right. It did feel a bit like the Doctor was just like, oh, I hope you again. It's like you've not seen them in a good few regenerations.
I guess it really was that thing. Like Christian must have an interview. We were making this story, and we had this idea for a monster or something, and then we thought, oh yeah, the Sea Devils, they'd fit the bill, and it really did kind of feel like that, which is a double-edged sword because, like, you know, I guess it sort of worked, but I just think in the execution and in the end, you know, and also just a lot of what we saw of them in the episode was stuff we'd already seen in the trailer. I felt like
there wasn't
a couple of shots. There was like one shot of them all on the deck of the ship together.
We'd seen that,
which looked a little bit ropey.
Which one? The one where it's like a sea of them all.
Yeah, like the most of them we ever see.
Very
on screen
like
once,
it had me in the mind of the Peter Cushing Dalek movies. You know, there's the shot of a Dalek, and then there's the rows of them,
extended it,
and it's clearly like you've just duplicated them around. And you're right. It didn't quite work, and the way, I mean, we'll talk about this the more we go on, but just like an instant thing that just comes to mind is that shot of so the Fleur de la Mar comes into the village, and the Sea Devil says, "Oh, it's our ship," and then he does this jump like Mario onto the ship, and it made me go, what? Since when have the Sea Devils been? It took me out of it.
But also just the way he just disappeared, and it's like, oh, okay, bye then. Bye.
Yeah, right. Off you go.
It's like things were just getting going, and like I was sort of expecting to see like the Sea Devils en masse, like attacking the village and stuff. Like, I guess maybe because of spoilers and stuff, they didn't want to have them out on location with a load of extras or whatever.
Not
Maybe
that,
there were
we
reasons
saw
for
any of it.
Yeah, because it was all in the studio, I think, wasn't it? All the Sea Devil, like apart from Craig Earls, Carpenter's chap, playing the leader, out in the like Welsh farm or wherever they filmed that first bit. All the rest of it was like either in the ships or in what was that location, like the base location? Because I think when I was watching it, I thought, is this the inside of the sea creature? Like, is that their base? Or is it just under the sea?
I'm going to be honest, Richard, I don't know. I assume...
Also, it wasn't the Merker.
It wasn't the Merker.
But
I predicted
that. Did it
that.
have a name? Because I think I heard them calling it something.
The Harshen.
Okay,
the
interesting, yeah. I need to go back and check that.
I don't know if that's a Chinese legend. Maybe it was incorporated. Because it seemed like the guy...
maybe.
I don't know his name. The one whose dad got killed at the start.
Key, was it?
Sure,
yeah,
let's go with
I
that.
think so.
He said something along the lines of, you know, it's the so and so, like it's a myth.
Okay.
And then the Madam Ching says, you know, it doesn't exist, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And then it's there. Yeah. So I assume that's why it's had that name. Yeah. But surely I don't get why they couldn't have just gone, release the Merker.
Yeah, or even just like give it a name drop or something. I don't know.
The fact that it says the Sea Devil says the name, like, it's sniffed out that the jewel, whatever the keystone is or whatever it is, is on this, is here, and the doctor just goes, stitched up by the sniffer dog. Couldn't she have just said, you know, stitched up by a Merker? It's just you know, like, anyway, it's a minor thing.
Sure.
Ultimately.
So I'm just thinking as well, the Silurians didn't get name dropped, did they?
Silurians didn't get name drops. Nothing about Chibnall's. Chibnall, given he's the one who's written the previous. You know, Homo reptilia story.
Yeah.
Given that there was nothing mentioned, I mean, there was 2 Matt Smith references. Being Jodie says Geronimo twice.
Oh, I missed that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Izzy was the one who picked up on that.
Okay.
I was.
Okay.
She was like, "Oh, wait, look for the Matt Smith references," and I was like, "What are they?" And she's like, "They say Geronimo when they go through."
Interesting.
Yeah. So that there's that, but it's just. I mean, we got an old Sea Devil scream. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I've heard about this. Again, I missed this on broadcast.
Really, it happens like 3 times. When I watched it back this morning at breakfast, it happens 3 times. The key time is when Ji-hun kills the leader. Okay. And it goes that noise. So that made me smile. But I'm so sorry to say it, but I just don't think the Sea Devils or the Silurians have anything more to do, you know, like it's a very simple kind of thing of just they're back, they want the world. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much depth to them. I suppose even if like some of them had been like good guys or just like not so evil or whatever, like if there was a bit more complexity, it might have.
That's the thing it needed. It needs that because the thing about the Sea Devils and Silurians is if you do them well, you've got that whole thing of, you know. Subtext of kind of colonization and all that sort of thing about reclaiming your land. Yeah, none of that is touched upon here. None of it's touched upon in Warriors of the Deep. None of it's really touched upon in the Sea Devils itself, from what I can remember. I've not seen it in a while. No. So it's sort of like if you're not going to use them for that kind of allegory, is there really a need to have them? Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah. Because I was so excited to see them. Oh, yeah, I mean, me too.
I think definitely the feeling before the episode was like, you know, that was where I was at my most hyped. And while watching it was sort of like, oh, okay.
Didn't it?
They're just sort of there and like, I don't know, I wasn't like offended by it or anything.
What do you think of the execution though? Like how they were pulled off?
Of the Sea Devils?
Like how they looked?
I gotta be honest, like, when they were speaking and stuff, like, I know you'd raised this like right when we did our first video about the Sea Devils. When they returned, like, how it didn't quite look right. And I hadn't quite noticed that before in the trailer, but when I was watching the episode, I was like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, it would have been nice to have a bit more sort of mouth movement or just something, you know. Like, it didn't offend me.
It was odd.
It was fine.
It kind of like, I liked the augmentation in certain points when it was subtle, when it was like, you know, a little crease of the skin or something like that. Yeah. But then there's these really weird bits when it does genuinely look so obvious that was just a solid mask and you've just tweaked it in post.
Because there weren't even that many, from what I remember, like group shots of them either. Like we didn't get a sort of a moment like in the Sea Devils where they're all rising from the sea, and I guess it wouldn't have been practical to do, and spoilers and whatever, but
a lot of the group shots were kind of big CGI ones. Like there was a shot of them climbing the ship.
And that was in the trailer, wasn't it? And the one we mentioned where they're on the deck, like the big pirate crew of Sea Devils, and I guess in terms of other stuff, like the bit when Dan just like takes load of them out, that's probably
that was a very weird
moment. Yeah, but like that's like probably the one moment where we saw the most on screen, I think, from memory. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was that was a shame they didn't have more of that, because
that's something I want to talk about. That moment,
it doesn't take a lot, a lot of effort just to have, stand there, get your Sea Devil actors together, and let's have a shot of you all. But it sort of either felt like there was just one or two of them, or you had like your big CG shots, like you say, which was a bit of a shame. There wasn't much middle ground.
It just didn't, and it didn't seem like that hero mask had much to differentiate it. Like as in, like the Jadoon captain has got all the animatronics and things in it. And then you've got all the troopers. I know it's different in that instance.
No, exactly. Yeah.
But probably a better example is maybe the pig slaves. You've got a hero mask for that. Yeah. And I don't know if that has animatronics in it or whatnot, but I felt like that lead Sea Devil needed to have something just to make it.
Yeah, or even just like a different colour or something, like the character options figures and stuff. Just something might have been nice, because even in the promo art and stuff as well, it's just like, it's another mask. I'm sure there were some minor differences probably, but it didn't really come across on screen.
I mean, my dad didn't watch the episode, but he was reading a BBC News article this morning, and he was like, "They look pretty good, don't they? Those monsters." Yeah. And I was like, "They do. The episode, it's just like they didn't really.
Yeah, it just felt like just another Sea Devil episode, I suppose. Like it wasn't anything more than that. Yeah, I don't know. But in terms of other stuff, I mean, let's go to the historical stuff next, maybe. Like, how did you feel that was executed? Because again, that just felt to me like, Madam Ching, she's there.
Yeah, she goes, Madam Ching, and then
they didn't do a whole lot with her.
Well,
I've seen some people say as well, like the performance was a bit off. Like, I don't know, just didn't quite feel.
I don't know if I agree with the performances being off. I think that her and Ji-hun, the performers did the best.
Yeah, I've seen some love for Ji-hun. Yeah,
I think Ji-hun was the better of the two.
I've seen some people say
I liked his performance a bit better. But I think this is indicative of just what I think's wrong with the whole thing. Is that it seems like it's been hacked to pieces in the edit. I don't know if you got that as well, but it really feels like there's so much been cut out.
At once, it kind of felt quite short or shortened and quite long at the same time, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not quite sure how that works, but like, I guess it just is that thing, like you get the sense that maybe some stuff has been taken out. Like, some scenes feel long and some bits feel shorter.
There's definite instances where it seems like that, because like it seems like, we've missed something here. Like there's a particular one, they go from the village, and then next thing we know, Madam Ching sailed off, and
she's on the ship,
and Dan's wandered away.
She's there already, isn't she?
She's in. It's like she's in the village, and then the next scene we cut to is what's his name again?
Yinky.
He's looking out to sea, and she's sailing off, and Dan's already wandered off from the Doctor, and it feels like we've missed a scene here with Madam Ching saying something to the Doctor as she gets on a ship and leaves.
In fact, now you say that, I'm realising now, of course, she was on the ship at that point, but when I was watching it, I don't know why, but when I saw the shot of them looking at the ship, I thought for some reason that she wasn't even on it yet.
I thought they were talking about the Sea Devils, because I didn't know that she'd left. Yeah. I thought he was saying, we need to go after them, and it really didn't. A lot of it just didn't feel clear. I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you what the plot was. I've watched it twice. And
I mean, I've seen some people say it was complicated. I'm not sure I'd say it was complicated.
I think it was complicated.
I think it was just sort of. It was quite generic, sort of piratey, Keystone, like lost treasure, lost ships and stuff, and it doesn't really equal some of its parts, I suppose. Maybe.
No, it really didn't. It didn't build up to anything, because it just felt like we were missing a lot in there. You know what it really felt? Ultimately, I think that this would have been a great Doctor Who magazine comic strip. A 3-part thing,
I think I saw you say
split
this.
it up over a few issues, a few pages. The pacing is that of a comic strip. It is not. It just doesn't work as a TV story because the pacing is that frenetic. That kind of, and that's what a comic demands. I could have easily seen this in a Doctor Who comic strip, and I think it would have been great as a comic strip. You know, Sea Devils and all that sort of stuff. And that kind of, you know, I'm not saying comics are less developed and a bit underdeveloped, but you don't have as much room for that in a comic. It's more about the pace and that. So I think it really would have suited that. It just, in this instance, I really think that this was a 60-minute episode and they cut stuff out.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
I have no idea why, but I just think that's.
I haven't rewatched the episode like you, but I was rewatching the. I mean, we'll get onto the Tasman stuff. I was rewatching the final scene on the beach, and like that comes in at like 40 minutes or 43 minutes or something. It's like everything before that, like the whole of the rest of the episode comes to like
40 minutes.
40 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's like
that's what I felt. Yeah, but that's even they're saying goodbye on the ship. I was like, "There's 5 minutes. What's going to happen now? Is it just going to be 5 minutes of the Doctor and Yaz shagging on a beach or something? Like, what's going to happen?" It just felt like that. Yeah. Wow, there's just nothing. It's really gone by very quick, and yet it didn't. It felt like I was waiting around for things.
It's weird as well how this sort of like pretty immediately like. Going into this, I was sort of expecting, like I say, you know, Sea Devil fight in the village, like some set pieces there, set pieces on the ship. We sort of got some set pieces on the ship later on, but like, it very quickly, it sort of, I wouldn't say descended is the right word, but it sort of descended into that typical Chibnall thing of like, it was sort of like the globe-trotting thing, like where we used the TARDIS to go to all these different locations, but not globe-trotting, just like, you know, I guess like what above ground, below ground, like under the sea, above the sea, that sort of thing. On the ship, onto that ship, like hopping around the locale there. Which I guess I might be kind to that when I'm like watching it again, because it is just like a sort of quirk of the era. But it wasn't quite what I was expecting from it. I don't know. I just feel
from
like
from a pirate story.
Yeah, like, I think when they went into the Sea Devil base, whatever that was, wherever it was. It sort of picked up there a bit for me because like the visuals of the ship down there. Then again, it's a bit confusing as to the geography of all that. But like, I like the set of like the control room. Like it was a bit sort of sparse, but with the like control.
and the water columns of the bubbling liquid. That was
nice.
Pretty
of course.
Good, yeah. A lot of thought had gone, but it seemed like. Another issue I found is that this episode had great set design, great costumes, and everything like that. Totally. But the direction just didn't really show it off in the best light.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I just don't think that we got it made the most of the fact that it's really a beautifully designed episode. It really looks like such a high budget thing, and I don't think the direction really reflected that. Nor did it have any kind of character to it. And you know this. I don't know the director's name, but you know it's her first time TV thing, and she's done all these amazing short films and feature films and things, and it didn't feel like there was a signature here.
No,
maybe that's just me.
I suppose
personally.
not.
I don't know where that sort of notion came from.
Yeah. So I mean. Have we covered everything apart from Tasman? Is there anything else before we get on to Tasman?
Just quickly, just like a few bits, just like sporadically.
Sure,
Ji-hun's sacrifice. There's another example of why I think that this episode has been.
It was Ko-Sharmus all over again, wasn't it?
It was Ko-Sharmus all over again. It was to a certain degree it was Jericho all over again.
Yeah,
Jericho. Chibnall loves kind of
course.
building up, feeling like he's built up these side characters, and I think Ji-hun. I think this is why it feels like it's been cut down, because I think Ji-hun we were meant to feel a bit more, but it was like, oh no, I'll stay behind, and it's like, sure.
But it was weird how they like
the doctor literally just went, cool, right, bye. Yeah, and she just ran off.
That's how they treated him as a villain to start with. Like that was a really weird thing, and also the thing with the keystone. Like I don't know, maybe it was just me, but like was sort of thinking that okay, the keystone is probably going to end up being that thing she chopped off the statue right at the start.
That's why I was confused. I thought that was the keystone.
Ended up being something else. And it was like.
So why? What was she cutting out of the statue? A map or what was it?
Yeah, like some symbols on it, weren't there? But,
yeah,
I don't know.
It really didn't.
Or whatever. But how would she know where to hack it away? Like which particular bit of the statue?
Yeah, she just goes up to it and starts
weird thing
stabbing at it.
With that statue, how like I don't know what was going on. Like, was it meant to be? Because like, look at that shot of it, like where it's holding a person. Is it meant to be that the statue's really big or the person's really small? Because when it turns into actual Sea Devil Man. Martyrs or whatever he's called, Obviously, he's not really big. He's just like standard
yeah,
size.
It
like...
really that made no sense because I was like, so were you encased in it like like a Han Solo like encased in carbonite, or were you literally? Does it make you a massive statue?
I guess there was like a disconnect there. That the statue's big, the actual thing that's like inside it there is smaller.
It would have made more. Why didn't they just make it a stone sea devil? Like that would have made way more sense. Yeah. I just don't understand why we needed to have it holding a person and just really adding to the confusion because it really I can't think of anything else other than there was just a lot cut out of this. Because Ji-hun I didn't care anything about. I was like, who gives when he killed himself?
I think I did actually laugh when that happened because I was like, oh, it's just so like
it is so kind of typical. Just like
this
is the moment you're meant to feel like, oh my god, no, don't kill yourself. Like, no, kill yourself.
And when the other guy like ended up being a crew member on
and you're meant to feel something like, there, but it's like, oh, okay, sure,
like, we get the drill. We've seen this before.
Madam Ching, she gets her treasure, and it's sort of like, well, I don't feel anything for that either, really.
That was weird. The way they left things as well. Like,
so what about her sons? What's going on?
That as well. Like in terms of the Fleur de la Mar myth, like because that went missing. So now is it not missing? Like what even happened to the Sea Devil ship? I can't even remember.
Do you
remember where it went? Did it blow up? I don't know. And the treasure as well. I guess she uses the treasure when she gets back home, but then I guess like an alternate timeline because in real life the treasure went missing. Like they didn't kind of stay true to that.
Sure.
Which it's give or take, but.
And also one other little thing as well is 3 seasons and a bit in. I don't think Chibnall's he's still not quite got the hang of this show don't tell rule because we're still getting ADR bits from characters telling us what's happening. The bit with Ji-hun on the ship when he's making them all jump ship. Yeah. And we can see that's what's happening. He's going, go into the waters, go, jump, whatever. And then Yaz says, he's making them all jump into the... She literally, I've written it down here. She says, he's forcing them all to dive in the water. And I was like, no ship, Sherlock, because we can see exactly what's going on. And the Doctor says in the fight scene when they're all, she says, don't let the swords touch your skin. I don't know why that line's in there.
Oh, I see. When I heard that line, I thought... I mean, I was in two minds. I was kind of thinking... Have they planted that there because
something's going to
happen?
Exactly.
Like, it's going to touch Yaz's skin.
It's a Chekhov's gun thing, isn't it?
And that's how she like dies or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, Yaz gets infected now.
Yeah. You don't show a gun in Act 1 and not fire it at the end. Yeah. It's like, why would you do that?
Talking of Chekhov's gun, I was pleased that it's a blinking almost at the moment, but Dan's pyro hook.
That was quite nice.
I liked that.
Yeah.
I liked that.
I mean, talking of Dan, he's one of my favourite parts of the episode. Like, there was no moment involving Dan, apart from one moment, when I didn't love everything about him. The pirate hook bit, the way, comic timing, John Bishop proving it. Yaz says, at least you didn't wear the hook, and then he just lifts it up, and they've got like little pause, that's really nice. And the whole, how old are you, what, 70? 60? I think it was 46, 42. Really good. Mm-hmm. I loved everything about Dan's stuff, apart from when he massacres about 10 sea devils in one foul swoop.
I guess it's meant to be like a throwback, like even says about his mum, like it's a throwback to the Sontarans thing, right? With the pan, like with the wok.
Sure.
But you're right.
You're killing them. It's not knocking them out, is it?
It was sort of, I just feel like some of the sea devils should have had more character or humanity. Because like it sort of works in the sense that they are just there as like monsters or like, fodder. But then if you analyse it more deeply, like, obviously they are like living beings. What did they do to Dan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And because the Doctor, there's a whole point made when she gives him the sword. She says, "Don't use this unless you have to."
Tells
and he just uses it
for using the sword.
And which is another thing that's not picked up on. It's like, oh, it's a Sea Devil episode. We've got to have a scene where the Doctor berates one of the humans for killing a Silurian or a /Sea Devil. It's the whole third Doctor criticising the Brigadier. It's that woman in Hungry Earth who kills Restak. It's all that kind of thing. Mm. It's like, we've got to put this in because it's part of a typical Sea Devil story.
Yeah.
But Dan overall though, I mean, did you enjoy what we saw of him?
I did. I mean, again, he was just sort of there, really. Like
he was.
I'm not someone who sort of like has a problem with that as such because it is a very sort of different. Like it's probably like the closest we've got to like a classic series companion in the new series, where it's like just someone that's there and it doesn't necessarily have that much character or like stuff to do, but you're sort of pleased that he is there because like But yeah, I found it interesting as well, like the way this was split up the characters. Obviously, this was like a chance for the Doctor and Yaz, and we'll get onto that, but like for them to do a big thing and have a lot of screen time together, which we haven't seen in a while, if ever. I'm not quite sure.
If ever.
Yeah. And then he sort of did his thing of like you say, wandering off like Graham in Fugitive, where he just goes and wanders off. But then
I've got to film the chase. I'll be back in a bit.
Or even like, I suppose just thinking now, he did the same thing. Well, he didn't wander off. He sort of wandered off, but like in War of the Sontarans, where he just disappears and like ends up back in. Like it's a different strand, isn't it? And then they sort of come back together. I guess that's the thing. Like, whenever Dan's in a historical, he can't say that for too long. He just disappears. But it's a bit of a shame.
The scene with Di was nice. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah, I liked that a lot actually. Yeah, and we sort of called that in our previous video. But
that it was going to come back into relevance.
Yeah, it's nice to see her. I always like it when we see like characters that look slightly different. Like she's got a bit of a different haircut, different clothes and stuff. Just like. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about that. Like we'll get onto the trailer as well, but like seeing a certain other Time Lord character in a different outfit as well. I mean, the jury's out as to whether it's any good or not, but seeing him with different facial hair and different outfit and stuff, it's like, yeah, okay, I dig this. But yeah, I mean, let's just get on to Tasman. We've got there now.
We opened Eve of the Daleks with it, so let's close.
Legend the thing with Di was sort of leading into that and sort of running, parallel there or whatever, little thing running alongside. Like Yaz has her moment, or well, sort of, and Dan gets something as well, which was nice. And I mean, just quickly as well, like, on the subject of Di, like it was sort of the equivalent of the Carl cameo in Eve of the Daleks. Like
it was actually, weirdly.
In this one we got her, and the Centenary we're gonna get like everyone like there's ever been in this era,
apart from Ryan.
No. But not Centenary, Tasman.
Yes.
So, yeah, I've got to say, it was the highlight of the episode for me, really, especially that last scene. Because I love the way they've gone with it in the sense that, like that line that Jodie has, right? It's like, I wish this could go on forever. There's so much subtext to that line, like. The relationship.
It's a very poignant one.
It's very meta because it's her, like Jodie Whittaker speaking as herself as well, because her time as the Doctor's coming to the end, which I loved, and it did get me a bit, a little bit teary-eyed.
It's weird, isn't it? It felt like that was the moment where I felt like, oh my god, this is her second to last episode.
Like, wow.
Through the rest of it, I was like, this could have been in series 12 or whatever. Really but that was a moment. When she says, I was like, oh my god, this is it.
I sort of wish there had been more ties in the plot. Because, like, they have the whole thing with the Fleur de la Mar, where they're like, oh, like, we were heading to the Fleur de la Mar, but we've got a few centuries out or something. Like, because they were planning...
Was she?
Yeah, so they say any of the Daleks right at the end.
Right.
And then they say in this story, oh, we're a few centuries out or something. They came looking for the Fleur de la Mar.
And yet they can go back and get it. They can go back a few centuries and just find it.
But it was just a weird one because I sort of made a big point of the fact that they'd sort of come looking for it and then just found it. Like, it felt like it was maybe building something more where, like
this is
I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, like,
or like it's got a link, like the Doctor's not telling them, but it's got like a link to something bigger.
Yeah, exactly. Or just, like, oh, what a coincidence. Like, it's all sort of part of a bigger plan or something, like the Masters behind, I don't know, just something like that. But Tasman. So that scene on the beach was my favourite
moment,
bit of the whole episode, probably. Yeah, I did really like that.
Definitely, like it teased you throughout. Like you had like a little line, like the "I'm not a bad day, am I?" line. That was like oh my god,
one of those ones we go
because there'd been scenes before, and it was like oh my god, nothing's getting mentioned. I was getting angry. I was like, you're not going to address this at all. And then she says that, and I go oh, here we go.
It was very much that thing of you're watching an episode and just waiting for that something to happen there.
So like it happens there, and then there's another bit.
I suppose the characters are waiting as well because they're both not quite sure.
I did. I think it was the Tasman stuff was the best part of one of the best parts of the episode. I think it was a part that was allowed to breathe a bit more. Maybe, like I was saying, if this was cut down, maybe Matt Strevens came back from Gallifrey 1 and was like, people just love Tasman so much, and they were like, all right, we'll keep all that stuff in. You know, because they sort of the way they talked about the episode, they didn't big it up at all. They were like, oh, it just, you know, it gets mentioned. They didn't imply that it was as big a part of the episode as it really is. You know.
Yeah, I guess it was sort of what I expected, because
I mean, it's tentative. It's not like it's not like they full out.
They
address
are very
it.
much sort of playing with the audience there, and sort of hinting at it there. And there's, I mean, things
certainly
like
the last scene which addresses it. Properly.
Yeah, exactly. You get like a couple of hints, like the thing you said about the whatever it was, the dateline, and then when there's a little bit between Dan and Yaz when that bit that was teased in the promo pic where they're like by the controls and stuff.
It's a copy of the Eve of the Daleks scene, really, isn't it? It's
literally like a couple of sentences. Like, oh, did you tell her or whatever?
Yeah.
And then the Doctor walks in or something, or the Sea Devil walks in. It's like, oh, okay, let's leave this. But yeah, like, they sort of played with it, and there was sort of, I guess there's enough there because like the shippers and people like that, you know, Twitter, you know, Tasman people, like they will sort of analyze every time the Doctor looks to Yaz, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But you know, I'm not saying that's program.
I've already seen fan art of them
exactly.
on the beach.
Probably, oh gosh, yeah. But like, I feel like they knew what they were doing there, in the sense that if we just have a lot of screen time between the Doctor and Yaz, and just have them playing with this, then that's sort of enough, I guess, in a sense. Yeah. But then I don't know if it was sort of lacking. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I think by the end, it was like, okay, I know where this is going now, and I like where this is going.
Because it's a very interesting dynamic. It's one that I don't think we've seen before. It's the Doctor not necessarily rejecting Yaz because she doesn't feel the same way. It's her rejecting Yaz because she's like... Yeah. Is it the same as like School Reunion? Like the Doctor going like... You know, I was thinking
about this and how you said in our preview video, like predictions video, about how you think... Oh yeah, we were talking about how maybe Yaz is going to like reject the Doctor, but on good terms. I can sort of see that happening a bit more now, because like, there's a like when the Doctor's saying a bit at the end, and she's like looking out to sea. There's like a shot from Yaz where she's like,
"Sure."
Oh,
well, no, she says it's the way that Mandip Gill actually in that scene. I think is her best scene. Yeah, she's done. Yeah, because the way that she says the word "sure" after the Doctor says, you know, here's why.
That's the moment.
Like that is like, you know. I that is exactly, you know, like the way she says it. It's just so much is subtext in that. Yeah. In the way she's gone. Okay, right. Well, maybe this isn't for me then.
I can totally see that happening now, but at the same time, like, I guess that's how it's going to ultimately end. But at the same time, I did kind of like how they sort of reached that point as two characters where they're sort of like, I guess maybe Yaz is a bit disappointed in everything, but broadly speaking, they've sort of. It's sort of like what I was expecting to happen, where they sort of like reach this point where they're both a bit more honest and open with each other, and they're like, let's just live in the present and keep what we've got. And it is that calm before the storm sort of thing of like, where they've got this now. They've got some sort of harmony.
Yeah. Like it's not like it's not like. It's not like the perfect like like marriage of feelings in a sense.
It's not like a bit of a compromise.
Yeah, it's a compromise. It's a compromise.
Yeah,
and Yaz, I think Yaz very clearly is like, well, this isn't what I want, like at all. I feel like I'm just, you know. Yeah. And I hope that gets addressed. I hope that she goes like, I think so. It's just a bit toxic in the sense of. She was really like the Doctor was in that influx, you know, having a go at Yaz every other sentence. Yeah. Was very. It just wasn't a nice treatment of her, although she did acknowledge it at the end of Flux, I suppose. But it's like it would be nice if it builds up to Yaz going, "You've not treated me in the best way. You've not really respected how I feel properly." I think it would be good to see how that develops in the last episode.
Yeah, something like that. I think. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one because the Doctor has to have been a bit of a dick or whatever. Like,
it's different to Rose, isn't it? Because you felt like for them to like, oh my god, they are literally like the Doctor wants exactly the same thing here, and it just sort of felt like the only reason they got torn apart was because of circumstance.
I sort of don't want to see the Doctor sort of
confess her love.
Well, like, I don't want to see her like get criticised or whatever too much, or like I don't know. I kind of want it to end on good terms for the two of them, like rather than Yaz just reaching a point where she's like, okay, yeah, like I'm happy. I'm happy with. I'm going to leave you now, and that's fine. I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the choice I've made. Because then that would leave the Doctor sort of feeling a bit sort of, oh, okay, like I guess she's dying anyway. But like, you know, I hope there's a way to do it where they can sort of acknowledge those things, like you say, but also it's not sort of it's not leaving it in a place where the Doctor sort of looks bad or comes off too badly, I guess. But I mean, just before we end as well, I mean, I liked the way that I think the whole thing has been like, people say like, oh, it's rushed or it's been thrown at the end, the whole Tasman thing. What I did like about the way it's worked in both these stories is obviously you get a little hint of it on New Year's Day, so it's like the seed is planted, and then here I liked how they dealt with the whole thing head on in that scene where they're in the green base or whatever. Doctor and Yaz. I love the lines that she gives, like, oh,
I don't usually do days.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, I don't do this, but if I did, it would be you, or whatever it was. I loved that. Because it's like the Doctor, that's the closest the Doctor's ever going to get to saying I love you or whatever, which I like, because that's
very her Doctor,
isn't it? You know, it's
very her, like Jodie's Doctor.
Yeah,
like this Doctor has a very different way of showing affection compared to someone like Tennant. Or,
I suppose, Tennant might be a bit more sort of...
Like, he'd be a bit more upfront. I think that Jodie's a bit...
Jasmine Khan, I love you.
I think that she's a bit more like a kid in a way. It's a nice shift. She's not necessarily awkward about it. It's just I think she's a bit more asexual in a way. You know, like she just doesn't see like the romantic side of it. Almost doesn't come into it. It's almost just like I love you as a person.
I suppose so. Yeah.
She says you're like you're not one of the most one of the most beautiful people I've ever met. It's more like, oh, you're one of the greatest people I've ever met. Yeah. So I think it's nice that that's like a different approach to take.
Sure, yeah, because I think this is the whole thing with it, is that they're being quite delicate. Like, obviously, with it being like the first sort of lesbian or gay thing with the Doctor involved, it's all very delicate anyway, and sort of... I guess that's just the thing that I like, is that they've sort of left it open to different interpretations. Like, the shippers can, like I say, take every moment and sort of take comfort in every single look the Doctor gives Yaz or whatever, but then you can also sort of read it as like a more of a friendship thing or whatever. But I liked as well how they do deal head on with that thing of, you know, of how the Doctor has had prior relationships. Like, you know, she directly references, oh, you know, I've been in this place before, and I've got a wife. I was a different man back then. It head on deals with all that sort of stuff. So I think that anyone maybe coming to this who was a bit more tentative about how that might work, it sort of addresses that, and hopefully people like that now watching it would feel a bit differently coming away from it, I think. Because I just thought the whole thing was nicely handled.
It was probably the best part of the episode.
Definitely. I think so.
It's just the rest of it sort of felt a bit meh.
I don't know.
But you're right. The Tasman stuff is a good takeaway to have. It'd be interesting to see where it goes for the last episode. Of Jodie's run.
And I guess to see whether we sort of predicted where it might end. I guess to see where that bit goes, and if we were right or not. But I think we're going to cut this one here and do a separate thing about the Centenary trailer, which will be out after this at some point. So stay tuned for that. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Please give a like. Please subscribe to both of us. And stay tuned for more. So bye.
Bye.